Get the most out of AI fast. That's what prompt engineering is about, and that's just what we'll learn in this course. We'll look at ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, and Claude. We'll learn how to modify the behavior of generative AI using advanced techniques such as few-shot learning. I'm Ronnie Scher. I'm a software engineer with over a decade of experience working for companies that lean heavily on artificial intelligence. If you want to be an AI wizard, you're in the right place, so let's get to it. In order to understand what prompt engineering is, let's talk about what generative AI is. Generative AI is a broad description for technology that leverages AI to generate data. This data can include text, images, audio, video, and even code. Now, prompt engineering refers to constructing inputs that help us get the most out of generative AI and language models in particular. Now, this is a really fast-changing ecosystem we're dealing with here, and at the time of this recording, some of the technologies where prompt engineering really shines include ChatGPT, which is powered by GPT-4 and GPT-4o. There's Microsoft Copilot, which also leverages GPT-4o. There's Google's Gemini. There's Claude by the company Anthropic. Then there are image-generating models such as DALL-E, which is now part of ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and even video generation tools such as Sora. In generative AI, you'll often hear the word tokens mentioned. Now, what does this mean? We can think of a token as a unit that can easily be understood by a language model. Now, what do I mean by that, and how is that different than a word? Well, if you think about the word every day, you can sort of break it down into two tokens, every and day. Now, breaking a word down may help a model process this input. If you think of the word joyful, it could also be broken down into joy and full. Another example would be the two words I'd like, which could end up as three tokens, I'd like, similar to the three words I would like. Now, different models have different mechanisms with which they split inputs into tokens. This step is known as tokenization, and often tokenization methods really change the results of the model's performance. So, what is a large language model, or what is a language model to begin with? For that, let's head over to OpenAI's platform where we can experiment with language models. This is GPT-4o, but I'm going to select a prior model that supports completions. This is because it has this unique show probabilities option. So I'll select most likely. And for maximum length, I'll do about 8 tokens. Now I'll type in the prompt, I try to learn something new, and I'll submit. And I have the completion every day, whether it's a new, and I sort of limited the tokens. But if I click on every, I see different tokens with different likelihoods of them coming up. Now, what if I created a pie chart with these probabilities? You'll notice that every is extremely likely to come up. Every day as one word is also likely to come up. There's the chance of each, which would be probably I try to learn something new each day. There's a chance of a new line being the next token, and there's other, which is many other possibilities. Then we can have this wheel of fortune where we try to raffle the next possible word. And if I spin this wheel of fortune, I could come up with the next token, which is every or every day. And once I have that, I can keep playing this game to generate an entire output. Now, keep in mind, this is still a randomly created sequence of tokens, so it's not guaranteed to be completely accurate. So if you think about it, language models can take a prompt and create a completion by constantly predicting the next token. This is an incredibly difficult task, and in order to achieve this, these models are trained on large amounts of data, including almost all of the crawlable web, a lot of literature, and they're often fine-tuned to become more conversational or to be better at a particular set of skills. ChatGPT might be the most widely adopted AI system at the time of this recording. It's powered by OpenAI's GPT models. GPT stands for generative pre-trained transformers. Generative means it generates data. Pre-trained means it was trained on a large amount of data. And a transformer is a type of language model architecture. ChatGPT supports multiple modalities. That means inputs to ChatGPT are not limited to one type of data. It's not uncommon for an input to include text as well as an image. Recent iterations of ChatGPT also support voice instructions, and these instructions are becoming more and more like natural conversation. What really makes ChatGPT stands out is a process called RLHF, Reinforcement Learning Human Feedback. This is a part of the model's training where people give feedback on the model's responses, making it extremely powerful when it comes to following instructions. Let's head over to ChatGPT and see how we can leverage this technology. So here I am at ChatGPT, and it's not uncommon to start a prompt by assigning ChatGPT with a persona. So I'm going to say, you are a tech marketing expert. Help us come up with a slogan for our new sustainable AI chip. And I got a few options, including empowering the future with sustainable intelligence and AI innovation meets eco-friendly design. Some versions of ChatGPT also allow you to tap into DALL-E, the image generation tool by OpenAI. So I can go ahead and ask for a logo for this. So generate a minimalistic logo for this chip. And when we prompt image generation, it's always a good idea to give even more details in order to get something very specific. You can play around with different styles, different ideas for color schemes, but this is actually pretty good for a first pass. Now, if my prompt includes a good chunk of text or a little bit of code, I can also divide my prompt up using what's called delimiters. So I'm going to start a new chat and I'm going to say, summarize the following paragraph to a fourth grader. Now I can start a new line, and I can use 3 quotes as my delimiters. So I'll open with 3 quotes and close with 3 quotes. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the beginning of this Wikipedia article on language models. And using these quotes as my delimiters allows me to break up my prompt and lets the model know when an example starts and where it ends. And there I have my summary. If I were to include code, I can also use markdown style ticks as my delimiters. So I can do something like tick Python and then new line and insert my Python function. And then once I'm done, I can close with another tick. So when I have a prompt that includes a few sections, I can help the language model out by using delimiters to divide up the prompt. As you can see, ChatGPT is extremely powerful as it is. Later on, we'll look at how you can customize ChatGPT and create your own GPTs for various tasks. The ChatGPT mobile apps, as well as the desktop app for Mac, allow you to utilize what's called voice mode. In this mode, you can prompt the system using conversational speaking. Now, speaking isn't always better than typing, but it is more suitable for some workflows. Let me show you how this works. So here I am in the mobile app, and I'm going to hit the headphone button in the bottom right. Take on the persona of a graphic designer, then ask me 3 questions. Once you have the information from the 3 questions, come up with a logo for my sustainable AI chip company.
Great. I'm excited to help create a logo for your sustainable AI chip company. To get started, I need to ask you a few questions. 1, what is the name of your company? 2, do you have any specific colors or themes in mind that you'd like to incorporate into the logo? 3, what kind of message or feeling do you want the logo to convey to your audience?
The name of the company is Red 30 Tech. I would like to use a green and magenta pastel colors, very vibrant, and it should project innovation and sustainability.
Got it? Thanks for the details. Give me a moment to design the logo for Red 30 Tech. I'll make sure it includes green and magenta pastel colors and conveys a sense of innovation and sustainability. I'll be right back with your logo. Here's the logo for Red 30 Tech, incorporating the vibrant green and magenta pastel colors and projecting a sense of innovation and sustainability. I hope it captures the essence of your company. Let me know if there are any adjustments or additional elements you'd like to see. You can check out the images in our conversation history.
Great. Now, can you repeat word for word the 3 questions that you asked me?
Sure, here are the 3 questions I asked you. 1, what is the name of your company? 2, do you have any specific colors or themes in mind that you'd like to incorporate into the logo? 3, what kind of message or feeling do you want the logo to convey to your audience?
Now, can you say the words any specific colors or themes?
Sure, here's the rephrased version. Do you have any specific colors or theme in mind that you'd like to incorporate into the logo? And here's the original phrase. Do you have any specific colors or theme?
Voice mode is becoming more and more effective at fluent conversation and is a promising way of prompt engineering in some scenarios. The Gemini models are a group of very capable large language models and AI systems by the tech giant Google. Now, Gemini 1.5 supports a very large context window. A context window is the amount of tokens you can have in the input and output when interacting with a large language model. So a very large context window will allow for a very long chat without losing too many details. Now, at the time of this recording, Gemini probably has the largest context window when you look at the leading large language models and AI systems. Gemini also supports different modalities. There are versions of Gemini that can handle inputs that are both text, images, as well as raw audio and even video. Google also offers Vertex AI, a very robust platform that allows developers to integrate this technology quite easily into their applications. Now, similar to ChatGPT, Gemini also leverages the transformer architecture as well as an architecture called Mixture of Experts. Now, let's head over to Gemini and see it in action. Right off the bat, you'll see a few possibilities for prompts, such as generate a fantastical image and help me write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm going to go ahead and type in, "You are a skilled graphic designer. Ask me questions one at a time until you have everything you need to create a logo for our sustainable AI chip company." Now, getting the model to ask me questions is quite a powerful technique to make sure I add enough details to my prompt. What is the name of the company? So I'm going to say Red 30 Tech. I want a modern, minimalistic logo. So I'll say green and magenta. I'll say, please do not include the company name in the logo. Now, it's asking me whether to include the name of the company in the logo, but it might have a hard time excluding text, and this is something you run into with these systems. We can use the shape of a leaf. So now I'll go ahead and just say, go ahead and generate the logo. And you can go on and answer more questions, but I really just want to see some ideas now. And it gave me some ideas that I can go ahead and iterate on. Now, leveraging this technique of getting the model to ask you questions is really great because it allows you to use more details in your prompt without having to guess what you should and shouldn't include. And having this long context window really gives you the ability to have this longer conversation. Microsoft Copilot brings AI innovation to the Microsoft ecosystem. Under the hood, Copilot leverages technologies such as OpenAI's GPT models and DALL-E. Now, what makes Copilot unique is that it's built with enterprise use cases in mind. Many companies can integrate Copilot into Microsoft 365, and this makes for some powerful workflows. Now, the company GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft, offers a set of tools for software developers called GitHub Copilot. Now, this technology was developed using lots of open source code, and it's available as a plugin through Visual Studio Code, as well as some other development environments. Now, you can access Copilot through this interface, which is similar to ChatGPT or Gemini. Many companies can also access Copilot through Microsoft 365. So here I am on PowerPoint Online, and I can go ahead and open Copilot with this button right here. And for this to be available, you have to have the service as well as the administrator needs to make it available in the company. And here we have Copilot available to us, and I can say create a short presentation about generative AI. And something really special can happen now with the combination of PowerPoint and a language model. And just like that, it created this simple presentation. Now, of course, you want to verify that all this information is accurate and you can adjust the information. A lot of times, it's a great way to create a skeleton of a presentation. Also, you can give more specific instructions, like you can ask for short bullet points. You can give some context. The context window can be limited depending on which version of Copilot and Microsoft 365 subscription you have, but this is an incredible tool that can save you lots of time. In this video, we're going to learn something called few-shot learning using the model Claude. Now, Claude is a model by the company Anthropic, and what makes it unique is that Anthropic is not considered one of the major players in AI at the time of this recording, and it really shows that the playing field is wide open when it comes to this technology. Now, Claude is extremely capable. It's actually leading the way in some benchmarks. It's excellent for generating code. And I want to show you what few-shot learning is, as well as show you a really impressive demo of what Claude can do. Now, few-shot learning is where we teach a model to do something by showing it a few structured examples, as opposed to giving it an explicit instruction. When we just give an instruction without examples, that's often referred to as zero-shot learning. One of the advantages of few-shot learning is that you can have fine-tuned control over the output of the model. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I want to give the model a paragraph and get back some hashtags for perhaps a social media post. I can use these dividers right here, the example tags that Anthropic suggests. So I open an example, and then I insert this paragraph from Wikipedia about generative AI, and I start by saying this is text, and I can say these are my hashtags. So I have 3 hashtags: AI, ChatGPT, and artificial intelligence. Now, it could be difficult to describe this output to a model, but here I just give another example. So another paragraph with some hashtags that follow a similar structure. And then finally, I'm going to give an incomplete section. So I'm going to say, here's some text, here's the completion, here's some text, here's the completion, finally, here's some text. And each one is separated by this sequence. So I'm going to say example, and I'll go ahead and grab this text here about Anthropic, the company. I'll say that the text is as follows. Remove some of this. And then I'll say hashtags. And if all goes well, the model should be able to pick up on this pattern of giving me hashtags in this format. Let's go ahead and remove the bold type. And yes, it was able to give me these hashtags and pick up on this pattern. Now, this kind of technique comes in handy when you're using an API and perhaps you have some user input and you want to control the format of the output based on some examples. Now, this version of Claude is actually quite impressive when it comes to code generation. And I'm going to go ahead and clear this conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and say, create a working Tetris game in a single HTML file. The game should be well styled and should run in an artifact. Now, artifacts allow Claude to run code that it's generated and are extremely powerful because they let you tap into its coding abilities. And just like that, within less than a minute, I have a working Tetris game that was generated by Claude. And this can be very difficult to stop playing, but it's extremely impressive that this model can do this. And it's actually quite handy that it can then run the code. So here's a fun little challenge. And for this one, I want you to create a presentation outline or even slides about the topic of prompt engineering. Now, the presentation should be geared towards people in your industry or discipline, and you may use this part of a Wikipedia article about prompt engineering to construct your prompt. Now, feel free to use some of the tools and methods that we have covered so far. You may use tools like ChatGPT, DALL-E, Copilot, Gemini, or Claude. You may tap into methods such as few-shot or zero-shot learning, dividing your prompt up using delimiters. You can assign a persona to whichever system you choose to use. You can also get the system to ask you questions until it has all the relevant information to construct this presentation or this outline. So take about 15 to 25 minutes to complete this challenge, and I'll see you in the next video. The goal of this challenge was to create a presentation or an outline for a presentation about prompt engineering. Now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this paragraph right here. It's sourced from Wikipedia. One approach is to paste a portion of an article into your prompt. Sometimes you can even have a system browse and grab the information directly from the article. And I'm going to go ahead and say, create an outline for a presentation about prompt engineering. The presentation is geared towards tech consultants. There should be about 6 slides. Each slide should have about 5 points containing about 6 words. Now, the reason I'm not instructing it to give me exactly 6 slides or 5 points is that language models can actually struggle with counting the amount of words or the amount of points, but they could give you a rough estimate. Now, I'm going to say, here is some information to include in the presentation. Now, a new line. I'll use my delimiters. And as you can see, it's constructed. And as you can see, it's constructed this line. I'll use my delimiters. And as you can see, it's constructed this short presentation, and it's actually done pretty well at giving me precisely 6 slides. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ask it to generate the actual slides. So I'm going to say run a Python script to generate a PPTX, that's a PowerPoint presentation file containing the slides. And many versions of ChatGPT are able to do this, to use the code analysis tool to generate files. And sometimes you're not going to get something that's 100% ready as far as styles go. But in this case, it was able to go ahead and drop this into a PowerPoint presentation. Still important to make sure you double check the accuracy of what you get from the language model. And that's 100% our responsibility as humans, as inaccuracies can happen when it comes to what language models can do. Advancements in AI have brought about the world of AI-generated video and images. We now have technology that can take a text description and generate imagery or video based on that prompt. Now, this has brought about some controversies. And some of the important questions around image and video generations include, are artists getting enough credit and enough compensation for creating the images that were used to train these models? There's also the question of what is art? And this is similar to a debate that came about when cameras were initially invented. Finally, there's the potential for misuse. The ability of people to create images to mislead or manipulate other people. In particular, this is of concern in fake news. Now, 2 very popular systems include DALL-E and Midjourney. DALL-E was created by OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. It's a diffusion-based model, meaning it starts with a noisy sequence and then slowly removes noise until it has a clean image. DALL-E was trained on millions of images, and it's available through Copilot as well as ChatGPT. Midjourney is extremely powerful. The way you interact with it is using the chat platform Discord. It has fewer free capabilities, so if you plan on using Midjourney a lot, you probably want to look into a paid subscription. Finally, there's the model Stable Diffusion by Stability AI. Now, Stable Diffusion is very powerful, and what makes it unique is that it's open source. This allows companies to use it as part of their AI offering. When it comes to AI-generated videos, there are quite a few tools out there, but one that really stands out is OpenAI's Sora. Sora is also diffusion-based, and it generates extremely realistic videos. At the time of this recording, Sora will occasionally struggle representing some things. One of the things that really stands out is hand movements. You can sometimes see that they're not as accurately represented. There's also the issue of things coming in and out of the frame. Sometimes the model can struggle to keep up with objects that are supposed to leave the frame and come back. In this one, we're going to generate images using DALL-E. Now, if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, feel free to use ChatGPT to access DALL-E. Otherwise, head over to bing.com/chat to access DALL-E through Copilot. Now, if you plan to use these tools for work, always go ahead and check out the terms of use as well as privacy notice. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on Designer. And I'll say, you are a creative director. Generate an image of a booth for an upcoming tech conference. Our company produces sustainable AI chips. And as you can see, Designer is powered by DALL-E 3. And we have some ideas for the booth. Now you can see that it extracted this prompt right here. And you can see that and as you can see, sustainable AI chips. And as you can see, Designer is powered by DALL-E 3. And we have some ideas for the booth. Now you can see that it extracted this prompt right here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this prompt. And I'll say minimalistic design. Also, notice that it's using logos resemblant of that of different companies. So it's important to keep in mind that what you're using is unique and always have a critical thinking mindset. Okay, so I actually like the bottom two way more, and then you can go ahead and open them in another tab. Now, keep in mind that sometimes when you have text in these, the text is not going to be 100% accurate as far as spelling and grammar goes. But this is an interesting way to experiment and ideate when it comes to design. Once you create a Midjourney account, you can use Midjourney using the chat platform Discord. Now, paying for a subscription allows you to have more access to the Midjourney bot and allows for faster generations. Some of the more expensive subscriptions allow you to generate private images. It's very important to know that once you create a Midjourney account, you can use Midjourney using the chat platform Discord. Now, paying for a subscription allows you to have more access to the Midjourney bot, allows for faster generations. Some of the more expensive subscriptions allow you to generate private images. It's very important to know that some of the less expensive accounts, as well as the free account, only allows for public images. Now I'm going to type in /stealth, which will allow me to generate private images. And you may or may not be able to do this depending on your subscription. And I'll start my prompt by typing in /imagine. And my prompt is a conference booth for a sustainable AI chip company. If you need more control over your image generation, you can add what Midjourney calls parameters. And I'm going to type in -- AR, which stands for aspect ratio, and I'll do 1:2, which is going to give me something that's kind of vertical and good for mobile viewing. And then I can also add -- no. And this allows me to request that certain things will not be in the image. So I'll say text. And negative prompting sometimes work. It's not 100% guaranteed. We should keep that in mind. And I'll submit my prompt. If you want to learn about more parameters, you can always head over to Midjourney's documentation where there's a full list of examples and parameters. And as you can see, some of these do have some text, but most of them don't, which is great. Now, as you can see, text was not totally left out of the images, but this is pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and upscale one of these by typing in U1. So I'll choose the first one. And I have that nice vertical image since I typed in aspect ratio 1:2. Once I upscale an image, there are a few options available to me, such as zooming out and generating more of this image. I can also go back and generate variations of this image. What's great about Midjourney is that usually right out of the box, you get pretty good looking images that are ready for use. It's time for one of my favorite challenges. And in this one, you're going to create a movie poster about the future of AI using generative AI. So feel free to use text generation to come up with a good title for a movie and a theme. And then you can use image generation to come up with a good movie poster. Once you're done, you can share your creation on LinkedIn using the hashtag LearnTechWithLinkedIn, prompt engineering, and AI. Also, go ahead and mention me so that I can hopefully see what you've created. Many learners have taken this challenge so far, and it's been great to see different people interacting with each other's creations and giving great feedback. The goal of this challenge was to create a poster for a movie about the future of AI using generative AI. And for extra credit, you can share it with the group using these hashtags. Also, feel free to mention me in your post so that I can hopefully check out what you've created. Now, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use Copilot, and I'll say, you are a marketing expert specializing in movie promotion. Come up with 5 possible names for a comedy about the future of AI. The movie is for all ages. Okay, so I'm going to try Gigabytes and Giggles, an AI adventure. And I'll go ahead and grab this one and go to designer. And I'll say generate a movie poster for the title. And I'll say Pixar style. And here I have a few possibilities, and it's always a good idea to check out any text that is generated by these models. You can use software like Canva or even PowerPoint to replace the writing. What if I told you you could create your own version of ChatGPT to meet your specific needs? Well, custom GPTs allow you to do just that. GPTs can reduce repetition. They allow you to share some of your workflow with your teammates, and they're easy to get started with. Now, to get the most out of custom GPTs, it's important to check what your plan of ChatGPT enables as far as privacy and capabilities. A good way to get started with custom GPTs is to head over to chat.openai.com/create. And on the left, we have this chat interface where we chat with the GPT builder. On the right side, we can test our assistant. And then we can go ahead and configure the fine details of our assistant and make small changes. So I'll start by saying that I want to create an assistant that helps me generate meetup invitations. And it's offering the name Meetup Maestro, and I'll say that's great. It's attempting to generate a profile picture for this assistant. And I'll say maybe something more professional. No text, just a logo. Okay, that's a little better. Great. Now let's refine the context. What should be emphasized or avoided in the invitations? So I'll say the invitation should include the event name, speaker, and time. As you can see, it's updating the GPT. Now let's focus on how you want to interact with Meetup Maestro. So I'll say the assistant should ask me a few questions, one at a time, until it has all the info it needs. Before I try Meetup Maestro, I'll add one more instruction. The invitation should include a logo for the event. The assistant should generate a minimalistic and professional looking logo. The style should be modern. Okay, let's go ahead and try Meetup Maestro. And it's immediately asking me a list of questions, and I'll say the assistant should not output a list of questions. It should ask one question at a time. Oh, I'll stop for a second because it's asking me another list. So I'll say the assistant is listing questions. Instead, each question should be separate. And let's try again. I'll do let's create an invite. The future of prompt engineering. We'll do it Thursday, August the 11th. And it's going to take place in the main hall at noon. And the keynote speaker is Ronnie Scher. It's asking if I want any other details added, and I'll say bring laptops, snacks will be served. And it's asking me what color scheme I want for the logo, and I'll say vibrant colors. I'll ask it to generate the logo. And I have my logo as well as my invitation. Now, we can make fine adjustments here. We can change up the prompts. We can enable code interpretation as well as different features of ChatGPT. We can also upload different files to add to the knowledge of this GPT. And this is very good if you want some question answering assistant. And this is just the beginning of the capability. Once you're done, you can go ahead and hit create. And you can invite different people to use your GPT depending on your subscription. And if I want, I can view the GPT. Another thing we can do is from the regular ChatGPT interface, you can mention a GPT. So I can say at Meetup Maestro, and I can say start event invite. And then it's going to ask me the relevant questions. So this could seem like a lengthy process. However, if you think about it, you are investing time that you'll likely save in the long run. Once you have a really well-tuned assistant, it saves you a lot of time. You don't have to reinvent the wheel each time, re-engineer the prompts, and you can lock in behaviors that you like. In this one, we're going to talk about multimodal AI. Multimodal AI allows systems to have inputs from various types of data. It supports multiple modalities. Now, a good way of experimenting with multimodal AI is using ChatGPT or Gemini and giving it an image of some ingredients and asking it to come up with a recipe using these ingredients you have. And it can usually figure out what you can cook with these ingredients and come up with a unique recipe. Another one is to draw a wireframe of an application and ask it to come up with the code for this application, perhaps to ask for it in a single HTML file. So in both of these cases, you have a visual modality along with text. Now, if you want to learn more about multimodality, feel free to check out my extensive course called Introduction to Multimodal Prompting for Generative AI. In this one, we're going to talk about fine-tuning. What fine-tuning allows us to do is to take a model, say a language model, and add some training to it in order to make it extremely good and efficient in a specific task. So say we have a company that helps programmers write code. We can come up with a data set or a lot of examples of prompts and completions. We make sure these examples are extremely high as far as quality goes. Then we can fine-tune a model in order to make it very good at helping programmers write some code. What's great about fine-tuning is that when done right, it can help you get more out of models. As a result, you can use smaller models and gain efficiency. Fine-tuning can also help you save up on tokens because you don't have to construct a very long prompt to instruct the model on what to do. Now, the process itself of fine-tuning a model can cost a little bit, but it may pay off in the long run. Now, this process is not in the scope of our course, but if you are interested in fine-tuning, you can check out other courses in the library. You can also head over to the documentation of OpenAI and see how you can fine-tune some of their great models. In this one, we are going to look at some code, but if you're not a technical person, please do stick around. It's a good idea to get a sense of how straightforward it is to get these technologies into applications. Now, if you wish to follow along, go ahead and open an OpenAI developer account and grab an API key from the profile section. Now, here I am at platform.openai.com/docs/examples. And here I can choose from various examples of functionalities that I can work into my application or modify. Now, I can go ahead and choose this one, summarize for a second grader. And I like this one because it's pretty straightforward, and once I open it, there is a prompt that's made up of this system section as well as this user section. Now, the system section helps you instruct the assistant about its behavior. And here we say, summarize content you're provided with for a second grade student. The user section is already the beginning of the conversation with the assistant. So here we provide it with that article about Jupiter. Now we have the code that reflects this prompt, and we can choose from Python, we can look at JavaScript with Node.js, there's curl. Now I'm going to look at Python, but what if I want to modify this code? Well, I can open it in this playground interface. I can change text. I can change different parameters here. I can also choose a different model, and I'm going to choose GPT-4o, which at the time of this recording is the latest and greatest model from OpenAI. And once I'm ready, I can go ahead and click View Code. And you'll notice I have this code here, and the change that I made is already reflected. The model is GPT-4o. I'm going to go ahead and copy this code, head over to Visual Studio Code, paste the code, and let's quickly take a look at the functionality here. So at the top, I bring in OpenAI from OpenAI. I then instantiate an OpenAI client. Then I get this response using the client. And you'll notice that I pass in the system portion of the prompt as well as the user portion. And I have some more parameters here. Now, if I run this code, I'm not going to see anything unless I output the response. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and print response dot choices and index 0 dot message dot content. And in order to run this, I'll first export my OpenAI API key. And this is a secret key, so I'm not going to write it here. And you should always keep it out of code. Use environment variables for your key and make sure that you protect this key and also replace it once in a while. So I'm going to delete this line, clear my terminal. And now I need to install OpenAI. So Python 3-m pip install OpenAI. It's a good idea to use Python virtual environments if you're working on multiple projects or if you're not using containers. So I'll clear my terminal and now I can run this. So Python 3 example.py. And I see that Jupiter is the fifth planet from the sun and the biggest one in the solar system. And I got my summary back from GPT-4o. So as you can see, just with a few lines of code, I can integrate this functionality into my application. Now, prices vary depending on which model you use, and it's a good idea to make sure that you're calculating costs. But these models are powerful, they're ready for use, and they're a great way to explore capabilities of AI in applications. Generative AI is incredibly powerful, and with great power comes great responsibility. Try to use this technology as responsibly as you possibly can. Always review output to make sure it's correct and keep in mind AI biases. Many of these models were trained on data sets that contain human biases, and as a result, many of these systems become biased. Now, this is a huge issue that is perhaps outside the scope of this course, but is important to keep in mind regardless. Now, when it comes to privacy and security, make sure to carefully review policies of tools you wish to use, especially at work. Also, make sure you seek approval before starting to use a new tool. Finally, it's important to come up with your own policies of how you wish to use these tools and keep in mind protecting sensitive data. I'm Ronnie Scher, and I wanted to thank you for taking this course and investing in your prompt engineering skills. Now, to keep the learning going, there are a few courses I can recommend from the library. To learn more about multimodal AI, you can check out my course, Introduction to Multimodal Prompting for Generative AI. There's also my course, Prompt Engineering with ChatGPT, where we use ChatGPT to examine some best practices when it comes to prompt engineering. For developers who wish to have more control over their AI application, there is Ray Villalabo's course, Developing with Llama 3, Meta's innovative and open large language model. This course looks at using the Llama model, which is somewhat open when it comes to usage rights. Now, to stay up to date when it comes to developments in tech and AI in particular, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, where I post quite regularly. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, AI Skill Boost, where I post quick tips and keep you up to date on good courses you can check out as well. Thank you so much, and you can check out as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.